Hey everybody! Hello, thanks for joining us. I want to play around a little bit with the some of the new studio light, specifically the grunge, the artist's atelier. I think it is a really fun collection. It comes with the little studs to bind our own books. I made this from start to finish, the whole book, using the Studio Light products. And I mean, how fun is that? Okay, so to kick it off, what we want to do is start. I took one of the essentials, the planner page, just the blank planner page, and what I can't stress enough about how much I love that all of these Studio Light, the planner essentials, and a lot of the kind of book things that they're coming out with, the journal things, they all coordinate together, so you can just build on the stash that you already have. So like I said, this is an older one. It's the basic page, the basic square page. I'm going to use that to cut out a background page, a colorful background page. I'm going for our ink drop paper to create my cover page. You're going to do the same thing for your back page, and then let's work on a little bit of a front cover for our artist's journal. So what I've done is taken from the artist's atelier, the grunge line, taken these two dies and created a little layered effect. So we've got the two pieces cut out there. And now I just want to add a little bit of interest to just my plain white cardstock there. So I'm just going to use just some Distress Oxide or whatever inks, just to add some interest there and kind of bring out the gold. Just softly distress the edges a little. To bring that gold out. Okay, then we'll layer that on top. Okay, and then I've also, from the same collection, used this bookbinding die. So we'll send out the list of all of the materials used to you guys, but if you wanted to know, this one coordinates perfectly with all of the studs. So if you want to bind your own book, this is the one to use. So use this guy to just cut out a piece like this. And I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but you can see the die does score right where you need to fold to have it fit over your book. So this width, I'll show you. This width works perfectly with the studs. So if I'm using, a heavyweight cardstock, and I actually, in this one that I made first, I was able to bind, I think 15 pages was my count. 1, 2, including the front and back cover, the width of the thickness of the binding paper, and the thickness of these little splatter accent pieces that I tucked in under the studs. So you can get 15 pages. Now I did use, for this book, I just used the blank planner pages that you can get as a kit. Comes with 10 sheets of white, 10 sheets of black, and 10 sheets of craft paper in this set. So that was super duper easy, but you can always carry on forever using just your plain planner page die. I will also mention that Studio Light has all kinds of fun edges that you can trim up and create some really cool stuff, really cool edges on your planner pages that just trim the edge off of whatever page you're working on. Here's the one from the grunge collection, all kinds of letters and stuff, and then it actually cuts the outside off, so you can get a look something like that. So there's so many different options. I love how they all work together. It's very, very cool. So then, I mean, even this die set to go with it, it has the little hole punches and the little covers on it so that that can also be added into your book as a separate little page. It attaches, I would put it this way, attaches onto your little, where your rings will be, and it's its whole other element. It's very cool how they do it all together. Okay, so this is our binding page, our binding strip, I suppose, and they've made it the exact width of our studs to get about 15 pages in there. And of course, you don't have to use the template. That's another thing that I love. You could make this page any size you wanted. You could make a little slimline book. You could make it just, one set of rings wide, make it a little flip book instead of a full kind of journal. You can do whatever layout you want, totally customizable. Okay. So I want to add, again, just a little bit of color, tie it in together with that same gold, that same brushed corduroy on there, just to the edges. And then I'm also going to do the spine of my book too, because once it's all folded up, I want it to look kind of weathered, like there's lots of artwork in it. So a fun little project to do to give as a gift to someone who's into crafting make their own little art book, or even for yourself, your own little journal. Okay, so we'll mount our cover page in there, and then I'm going to take the blank pages and put a stack in there to give you an idea of how it all comes together. And this is where we would put the flat face in the front is what I prefer, but you can do whatever you want. Get it through all the pages. And then we screw the slotted piece right into the back. It just fits right into the back. And screw that up tight. And then we have a little binding. Of course, we would do it for the other 5. So that's what we're going to end up doing. Let's decorate our cover first. So we've got our little accent. I'm going to build a little bit of a stage here to put our artist on. That as centered as I can. And then we will, again, attach that on to the front of our artist's journal. There we go. Okay, now I think I'd like to start doing some stamped elements. So I'm going to use the little figure from one of the stamp sets from the Artist Grunge collection. We're going to use this girl, and then some of the paint tubes from another of the stamp sets. These little paint tubes. And stamp it up. So again, I'm going to use a water-based light gray ink, line it up in my stamping platform, make sure I've got it snug in there, and so that I know exactly where that's going to be reset, because I'm going to come back once we've colored it and stamp it with the black ink. So we're going to just do a nice light gray so that we have some nice light lines to color in, and then we'll come back and fill in all those lines with a nice crisp black. Got a paintbrush and a pencil in there too. It's really cute, kind of creative looking stamps in this collection. push my platform down. Oops. Must have missed a spot. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to color her in using our alcohol ink markers. So there you can see the stamp. We're going to start with her face. I'm going to go with the light skin color. Do a nice little base coat there. She's a little bit smaller of a figure, so I think I can manage to do her face and neck here at the same time. Get a base coat down in the light skin color. And then I'm going to go in with skin and just do kind of where the shadows on her would be. Let me see if I can lift it up a little closer for you guys. Shadow her ear, her jawline, maybe under her nose, under her lip, her eyes. Down her neck. Down here would be shadowed by her shirt. Okay, then I'm going to go back with the light skin and just blend that a little bit. Blend that in. Although those two colors blend really fantastically. Okay, and then again, if I want a little bit more shadow, I could go with the pastel yellow. That kind of brings some peachy tones to her skin. And a little bit darker of a shadow. Maybe under her lip and under her nose. If you do contouring for your makeup, you'll know where all the spots to hit. And then just blend it again with our lightest light skin color. Blend that back out. Leaving the center of her face the lightest area. Then I'm going to go in with a little peach, give her some rosy cheeks. Blend that. Just go around the edges, blend that into the rest of her skin. Very cute. Give her, I'm not going to blend this part, so I'm going to let it dry a little bit, that first layer, but I will go back in and add some peach to her lips to kind of fill them out. I don't know if you can see there, it's just a line. So once that dries up a bit, we will go back with the peach to give her some lips. And oh, we could do a little pastel yellow eyeshadow to highlight her eyes a little bit more. And it just brings her features out. Her eyes are closed, resting closed, but she looks quite peaceful actually. Okay, so now I want to do her jumper. Why don't we do her jumper a nice bright yellow to go with those pinks and golds. So we can go, I'll start with my lightest color that I'm going to use. It's going to be fresh yellow. And then I'll do kind of the shadows in warm gold. So again, I'm going to work in sections because I want to make sure I'm getting a nice coat down and it's staying wet so that the colors blend seamlessly. So just a base coat, get that pocket, get her buttons. Okay. Then I'm going to go with the warm gold and get under her arm would be shadowed in my mind, under the pocket, maybe do the buttons. Under the collar is going to be a little shadowed, maybe down here under her little canvas. And it just blends out so nicely and makes it look realistic. It's easy to make it look like you know what you're doing with the coloring. Okay, so that, if it needs a little bit more blending out, we can go in with our lighter color and just touch that around. Blend that out a bit more. Then I'd go to my next section, do the same thing. Just working in small pieces to make sure everything flows nicely. Back in with the warm gold for those shadows. Under her arm, her sleeve all crumpled and rolled up would be shadowy. And then back with the lighter yellow and blend those guys out, pulling that shadow just a little bit further into the area. So there we go, really adding some life. So we'll just continue that on with all the rest of her. And she's going to end up, oh, we'll go back. Imagine that was all colored. And go with our black ink. Line her up exactly. And once everything's dry, because this is alcohol ink, so we don't want it to blend back in with the markers. Once it's all dry, stamp her outline. And it really brings her to life. Makes all those colors pop. Like I said, it's easy to look like you know what you're doing with the coloring with these markers. So here we'll cut her out either using an X-Acto knife. Once she's all colored up and re-stamped, make sure you re-stamp in the black if that's what you're going to do. Re-stamp in the black before you start cutting it out because you want to make sure you're able to line that paper back up in the exact spot where you had originally stamped. Okay, then you use a self-healing mat and an X-Acto blade if you want. Super simple to do it. I love this method, but it is a little bit slower, so I usually tend to cut kind of the straighter bits, like her pants and that kind of thing. Cut that with a pair of scissors as close to the line as I can get, and then get the trickier bits with the X-Acto knife where I need to get in really close. So once you have her all cut out, she's going to look a little something like this gal. There you go. You can see all of the blending, shading, a lot of fun. And of course, you can take as much time as you want if you wanted to get rid of that white outline. But I don't mind it. Pops her up a little bit. Okay, so we've got her all colored up. Now what we can do is add in any other elements to our page before we tack her on. So what I'd really like to do, I've used a little die from, what set was it? Oh, this set where we cut our little background piece here, this little stage that we made. I grabbed this little kind of abstract squiggle piece, cut that die out of some white cardstock, and again, I will just brush a little bit of color on there to tie it up, soften the harsh white. Probably shouldn't be doing it on my fingers, but whatever. Okay, and then I'll use sticky specks. The sticky specks are a girl's best friend when it comes to fiddly little skinny pieces like this. What way do I want it? I think I'll go this way. I'll mount it down there just to add some interest in behind her and really, like, it's artsy. There can be a lot going on, you know? So peel my thing back, pick up some of those dots. Stick it on there. There we go. Okay, and what I love to do when I'm using sticky specks is use my Nellie's anti-static tool and just give it a brush over, because the powder that's in the anti-static tool will just kind of stick to any stray sticky specks and make it so that they don't pick up lint or whatever, and they're just no longer sticky. I also wanted to add a little something on here. Where did I put my other stamping platform? I thought, how cute would it be to add a little embossed saying on here? Of course, you could just stamp it, but embossing it just makes it a little more special. I feel like these little books, no one would ever know that you made it yourself, and then you get to super duper brag and say, oh, this, I made it myself. Okay, where's my stamp? Ah, yes. So I love from this set with our figure that we stamped and colored. I love this quote. It's really lovely. Light ran wild within her, blah, 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 blah. Artsy and fun. Okay, so I want to use some white embossing powder on this guy. So give it a quick wipe with my anti-static tool. Make sure you wipe all around. And have that on there. Line it up. I think I want to have it lined up. And then I'm going to stamp with my Versamark. Get a nice coat on there. I might give it another go. There we go. Okay. Pull that out. Now on a scrap of paper, I'm going to dust over my, oh, I was going to do white detailed, but I think I might do clear just so it's even more subtle. And you can just kind of see the quote in behind. So I'm going to go in with clear detail embossing powder. You can do whatever you want. You don't even have to do it at all if you don't want to. But I think it'll look really cool. We'll see. Mixing it up as we go along. Okay. There we go. Because I'm going to have my figure kind of in front, and like you're not going to be able to read the full quote anyways, I'm not super worried about it being clearly legible. It's just more of a look for some interest in behind her. So put the excess powder back in my container, close that up before I get it all over the place. And then I apologize for the noise, but I'm going to run over it with my heat tool. So get that heated up. Oh, I love the way that's looking. The light just catches it, and that actually stamped really clearly. I'm impressed. I thought it was going to be a little smudgy, a little more grungier. I can entirely that's entirely legible. Entirely legible. Look at that. So when the light hits it, you see that sentiment. Oh, that's so special. Okay, nice. Now we'll stick her on with some foam pads. So you can see the ink does come through on the back side, so do make sure you're coloring over top of a scrap piece of paper. And chop this pad in half for her legs. Okay. So we'll stick her on. I like just popping her up a little bit. Of course, we could stamp directly onto our cover with any of the different elements from the collection. They have a really cool variety of just things that add a bunch of interest. You know, all kinds of squiggle marks, and you could do it all up with the clear embossing powder and add all kinds of texture back there and do some really fun stuff. But I love the way that's looking. Fairly simple. Okay, Now, we will add, oh, I did color up a couple of those paint tubes from that other stamp set with the paintbrushes and all kinds of fun stuff. This is the stamp actually that I used on my little green one down in the corner there. Those bubbles, looks really cool. Okay, yeah, but I colored up some of the paint tubes so we can kind of arrange them on there, in our color scheme if we want. I think I'll do something a little bit like that, but I want to get my binding on first and just see kind of what room we've got left. So I'm going to take my pages that I'm stocking it up with, and we will take our binding. Oh, I do want to mention a bunch of the kits, a bunch of the sets, the die sets have these paint splatters. So this is the die set we've been pulling most of our stuff from. So there's the paint splatters if you want to use them. The full page, no, what one was it? Oh, the like fun different edgers. You can see I used one of the edgers on this page, so the cover kind of has a little bit more texture to it. It comes with 3 of those splatters, so you can do some fun stuff with it. So I've cut just out of my background sheet, my background pattern. I've cut 6 out, so we can quickly glue those on if we want, just to the front of our binding. It can add some reinforcement. I haven't found any issues, but I haven't been really using the notebook. It can add some reinforcement if you're using a little bit of a thinner cardstock, and I think it just adds some really cute interest to it. So get those on there. And really finishes it off. There's so many different elements from the Planner Essentials collection and now the Grunge collection. Art by Marlene has come out with elements that can fit into the these planners within the planner kind of template from Studio Light. Same with Janine's Mindful Art. So there's lots of fun stuff to do. Also from the Grunge collection, there's this little sliding tag template. Again, you can see kind of like the paint drips in there, and this is where it'll punch the rings to fit as an element in your little planner. Slides open and back. You can do so many different fun elements with it. Never ending. Once you have the basics of the Planner Essentials, your options are endless. So we got those on there. Okay. Now again, about 15 pages. We'll tighten things right up. Get it lined up as best as you can. And again, I'm going with the flat side on the front, but you can do whatever suits you. Flat side on the front, and then the slit on the back. And I've been able to get them just like finger tight, but of course you could use a little screwdriver. You could use, actually I think I even tightened some with just my palette knife, the edge of my palette knife. Tighten it up in that little slot. There you go. Okay. Do it for all the rest. Of course, it's cool because it's entirely like you can open and close these whenever you want. They're reusable, so you can switch out your pages if you need some fresh pages, or if you wanted to sneak in some of these other little elements, just undo your screws and pop them in. A really cute one. At the end of this, I'll show you guys the little July Summer Memories journal I've been working on. I'm using the same kind of idea, but I'm using it in one of Studio Light's ringed planners. So it's a lot of fun. You can do tons of different stuff. But I love this. I think it's so cool to be able to make a journal from scratch. Okay, keep going with the rest of your little rings, or your studs, I suppose. Just slips in there. You can see the one side is threaded. Screws in. There we go. So tons of different elements that you can use, and having the pack of blank pages is super handy. Like I said, you could just cut out a whole bunch using the one plain page stencil SL347. It's the basic one, but it's nice to have just the pack of planner pages. Saves time. Okay, last one. And of course, you can go back through and tighten them up if need be. Okay, there we have it. The basis of our little artist journal is complete. One other thing, if you're using fairly thick cardstock, and just like these pages, they are fairly thick. Where is my scoring tool? It is helpful to give them a quick score along that binding line so that they will fold open easily, so that you can fold it back and start working. And from there, they just fold. So there you have it. We can add on whatever different elements we want. Of course, we can add some washi tape. The Grunge collection has a lot of fun black and white washi tapes. I will mention the alcohol inks stick to the washi tapes. I mean, it's permanent ink, so of course it would. And so you can make these black and white washi tapes any color you want with those alcohol inks, if you so choose. Go Artist Love on there. Very fun. So there you have it, your own little artist journal project. Again, you can switch it right up just on the color scheme and make it into whatever you want. There's some other washi tape. Paint is only wasted when it stays in the tube. Really cute and a ton of fun. It's a neat little project. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Happy crafting. Bye.